how I fight my battle. This is how I fight my battle. This is how I fight my battle. Hey, well, today is a day, perfect day. Kind of rainy, overcast, got lots of water all over the place, and I've got my suit on. And you're probably wondering what I'm going to do, but this is the day that we defeat one of the enemies of Bethel camp. Well, defeat's an interesting word, but I'll talk about that later. So we are going to fight poison ivy today. It's one of those terrible things that campers do not like. The problem is it doesn't show up for about a day and a half. So you go and you play capture the flag, you run through the hills, and you're rolling this way and that way, and you slide back down because somebody's chasing you. And then about 2 days later, a day and a half for me, all of a sudden you start getting these little lines of little bumps that just start itching like crazy. Or if you're unlucky enough, you get big old patches where a leaf, the oil, just smeared on you. And whoo, it's not good at all. Not good at all. You start itching and you put the calamine lotion, you try all kinds of things, but by then it's already too late. And some people even have to go to the ER, and get a prednisone shot. That's really, really bad. So here at Bethel camp, I do my best, and we can't do it everywhere because this is wild country, but we do my best to get rid of the poison ivy. So now we're gonna go show you a few places here where some of the poison ivy has been pulled already. So right here I got a pile, and I want to show you a little bit. So here's the nature of the plant. You notice I got my gloves on, so that the oils from the seeds, see how oily and shiny those are? If you get those oils on you, woo, man, that's nasty stuff. And this is just coming up here. See, it's red and all got the red leaves. That's kind of part of what. Now, I gotta watch the dog. You stay away. Puppy, don't get into poison ivy. Nobody's gonna want to pet you. That's all right. He's a smart dog. He's been watching me pulling things. So, that's one pile there. Now, I want you to take down here. Look at this pile of poison ivy. I can't tell you how excited I am. Now, you would have never thought, just looking down over that hill, that there was that much poison ivy down there. But the campers kind of like to go down there and have some quiet times every once in a while, and I had seen this stuff growing. It's been about 4 or 5 years since I've been down there, and oh, it was bad. That whole pile, I don't know if you see all the roots and all the pieces here. Look at all those bad pieces of poison ivy. I mean, that makes me so excited. We got that thing down. Now, the problem is what to do with this. You don't want to burn it, because they say those fumes can blow up in the smoke and it gets in your nose, and then you really got it bad off. So what I usually do is take it to a barren place out into the wilderness, and I let it die, slowly die. And then once it's good and dead, we'll just kind of carry it off, and we'll get rid of it then. But the problem is we can't leave it down where it was. I could have just picked it up and left it where it was. That's not good anymore either, because you see all these little strings on here. This poison ivy plant has the ability, watch out for your feet down there, now has the ability to reroot. Now if I just stick that down there, it'd send all these little tentacles down there, and you'd have a little plant going off of there after a little bit. So we're always looking for all the places. So the most important thing is for me to get all the poison ivy out of the area where all the campers are, so we have the least amount of damage. Poison ivy is kind of like sin in that way. Any sin does damage. So you leave a little piece there, and then most likely nobody's going to get hurt from it. But if somebody happens to step in there or happens to sit down right there, you get that on that, and then they share it with somebody else, whoo, no way. I hate poison ivy. Now, you may be one of the lucky people. Now, if you do count your lucky star, well, don't count your lucky stars. Thank God that you are not allergic to poison ivy. I happen to be one of the people that is quite allergic to poison ivy, and so therefore I wear my protective equipment. You see I got my boots on, and I'm walking through it, got my pants on, and when we get done here, we'll go throw all this stuff directly in the washing machine, because it's made, the poison ivy oils, what on there, you just take a little bit of soap, washes it right off, don't need to worry about it anymore. So I have to kind of be careful. In one place when I'm going through the woods, I have to first check, make sure there's no poison ivy up as high as my neck. Because if I'm moving my head around, I'm not protected very good on my head. Now, I could wear protective gear. Sometimes I wear a hat for them really bad stuff. And then that hat keeps my face away. But I've just been really careful not to get them. So, got my gloves on, long sleeve shirt, double sleeve, and got my pants, making sure there's a little hole there, but I think we're all right. So, we're looking around here, looking for poison ivy. And wondering where we can see it. So, sometimes it wants to hide from you. underneath the leaves. It grows in those dark places deep down in there, and it likes to see. I don't know, can you see any poison ivy from where you are? There you go. And by training, you eventually kind of learn to see it a little bit. This is actually, I'll tell you the story, this is where my girls played for a while. And so I've spent a bunch of time cleaning this out, but we had a bad story. This was kind of back by it used to be a kind of real covered area, and the girls were down here and they were making little forts, and they would climb down in there. Well, unbeknownst to them, they were climbing in the poison ivy. And all of a sudden they started saying, Dad, we're a little itchy. There, I see one. Okay, so we're gonna come back here. If you can kind of zoom in right in here, see it climbing up this? This is the way that poison ivy does. See, here it's climbing up. There's the leaves right there. We just trying to take, oh, look at that long stem. Oh, and it's going up and over the top. And there it is. Now see, if I'm careful and I'm taking, look, I can pull all this. I could have just pulled the leaves off. But look, way down in there, got a root. See? We go down here, we follow that root all the way to where it's going. And it might even lead us along somewhere else to some other poison ivy plants. Hey, got the root. Pull it up. Now, you never know that you got it. Oh, and wait, look here. Something else must have been growing up. Here's another one growing. Look, it grew up there. There's other pieces growing up. See these long tentacles here? You just pull them all, and you kind of can follow them through the weeds. If you pull it off, just yank it, you might miss all this other stuff, and then it would grow back from there. But if you get all the, oh, look at that long piece there. All right. Now I thought I saw one. No, I must have grabbed it with that other. It must have been all hooked together. That's the nice part, that a lot of it hooks together, and then you can take it all out at once. Now here, we'll put this stuff back on the other side real carefully. Don't want to let it touch your skin. Get it on the other side of the fence there where we can pick it up again. All right, going back through here. Now, so I cleaned this place out before, and most of it's gone. But here's another little section right here. Get down in here and see what we can. Ooh, that's a long, big old long stem. That's an old stem. See how long? It's probably about 3 foot long, coming from way down in there. I don't know if I can't really reach down in there. And you don't always get all of it. And so I think that's the way we just kind of have to work at it. And as long as we're knocking it back, there, that's probably 5 years worth of growth going up there. It takes a long time for it to grow. And if we get that thing way back in the back, good to go. All right, see if we can see any more here. Now see, that's all beautiful wild roses. Now they're kind of briar bushes. You don't really want to get into. I warn the campers not to get in there. But those are going to make some beautiful flowers. Now, this is where you got to learn and train. They got a couple different things through here. This is some Virginia creeper. It's not that bad, and so you can just pull the Virginia creeper out. But Virginia creeper, that's the one that creates those big old vines from the tree that you can swing on. So if you kill all the Virginia creeper, you won't get any vines to swing on out in the woods. But we need to take care of the poison ivy. I don't know if you can see it here, right? This is something else. It's a nice old vine going up. I think that's a trumpet vine there. But this is the one that's not good. Look here. Climb, I'm pulling it all up here. It's going up. Oh, there it is. Look and see how it's going all the way up the tree. Man. And see when it gets up there in the sunlight. Ooh, careful. Watch it. Watch it. I'll get it on you. When it gets up there in the sunlight, boy, it can really start pulling the sunlight in, and that gives more power to the roots. So we get all this off the top. That probably took maybe 6 or 7 years to grow up that high. We'll get her out there. Oh, here's some more from the main root down at the bottom. Get this all pulled up. I could just imagine a camper coming through here and hiding back in the corner here. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. You know, this poison ivy, it reminds me a little bit of sin, kind of in the same way. It's a creepy little thing, hides back in the dark corners, and likes to stay hidden. And then it comes out and it pokes its little face out, and sin does evil in people's eyes, people's stuff. You got to treat it and you got to fight it. And a lot of times it has these little tentacles that reach back in there, and if you see the result of the sin poking its head through, it's a good sign that there's some bitter root deep down in there. You just kind of, what you follow sin back to where its source is. Might be pride, might be selfish thoughts. Wherever wherever that goes back to, deep down in there, it's going to show you something. And if you can follow it back to the root and you pull out every bitter root that entangles, then you're able to purify. Jesus talked to the Pharisees and he said, you can clean the outside of the cup and it's great, but if you don't clean the inside of the cup, well, you still got a dirty cup. And you can whitewash a tomb, make it look really good on the outside. I could just pick off all the tops of the leaves, the poison ivy, you would never see it, but it'd still be growing underneath there. And it'd be like that whitewashed tomb that would be like full of dead man's bones. We don't want to be people that are full of dead man's bones. That doesn't attract people to Jesus. We want to get rid of the root, take care of it. All right, let's go to another spot here. I'll show you where some more poison ivy is. There's some things about poison ivy that make it a pretty formidable foe. One of the things is that it'll just creep underneath the ground and kind of stay hidden and won't just barely. And if you happen to go along with a weed eater and you just top the top off, it'll just keep growing. You'll send a little shoot out there, and it'll just keep growing into the ground, and it can follow sometimes 5-10 feet away from where it went. And those vines grow unheeded underneath there. The other thing, so it spreads that way, and every so often, I don't know if you can tell on the thing, it's sending out little roots all over the place. That every so often here, there's where it put some roots down, and I ended up pulling that one out. Now that one may grow back, that little root may grow back from where it was, but most likely it'll dry out. The other thing is, every so often it roots in the ground. So if you happen to pull it up to where it's rooted and break it off, well, that root's going to stay in the ground. So and it can keep on going from there because every so often it puts another root down in the ground. It's not like it just has one spot where it's rooted in, but it'll re-root and re-root and re-root, and it just keeps on going like that. Especially if it gets around a rock, it can kind of hide in there. And how's that? Where that big pile, I was pulling big old long strings out of there. They were all connected to the rock. The other thing is, we'll look at a piece and I'll see if I can find one. It'll also produce seeds, and so as those things grow, then it'll produce some little berries, and the birds eat them, and then it travels, can get dropped to wherever. A lot of times when you're walking in the woods, you won't find it. There's some more stuff here. You won't find it like in just way back in the woods, but it's where it's been disturbed, where it has a chance to kind of grow. And we worked on this place a little bit while last year, worked on this hillside, trying to get it out. And kind of that's my goal. I go through there and on this day when it's a good day for picking poison ivy, I really want to set it back.
How do you know it's a good day for picking poison ivy?
Well, so I like this, a day like this where it's rained. Last night we had a good rain, and the day before we had a good rain. And so the rain actually kind of washes off some of the oils off the poison ivy. So then I'm less likely to get all those oils in my hands. I picked some other stuff here too. This is an invasive plant that we just got recently, about 10 years ago here into Kentucky. It's a bush that looks a lot like the honeysuckle. Now the old honeysuckle, you can pull those things out and suck on them and get a little bit of sweetness on them. I love those old honeysuckles. But there's a new bush that looks like the honeysuckle that got planted here in Kentucky, and it has just taken off. In fact, there's some places where it's just taken away our woods. So I'm seeing some of those. I'm going ahead and pulling them out. I'd kind of like to get some people out here at the camp to help me just dig them up. We'd have to go through all these 350 acres plus to get them off here, and then they'd probably seed from somewhere else. I'm liking the fact that there is hardly any poison ivy right here. I have a good memory of getting chased here to capture the flag. I came running down this hill and somebody was guarding me there. Somebody was chasing me down. I ran up in the hills and they didn't follow me, and I came running down, ran back up, and the individual got me. But I had a good time hiding up in the hills trying to stay away from them. That's kind of why I want to make sure this poison ivy is all gone, because I'd like for my campers to be able to run up in the hills Ah, there's some. See how it is hanging way up here on this. And probably nobody'd get it, but the problem is, it'll be sitting there and it'll send out roots and it'll grow down this way and grow up that way. And I'm gonna have to climb up there. Look, there's a whole bunch. That's a spot I missed there last year. Let me see if I can get up around there. Maybe it was so steep that I couldn't get down to it. I thought I was gonna fall. Oh, I might have just gotten tired last year too. When you got this much acreage, oh yeah, that must have been where I stopped getting poison ivy last year. Because boy, I see it up here. This is a good time of year too. I was talking about why it's a good day for poison ivy. Early in the year here like this, it's just this poison ivy has put a whole bunch of energy into sending out all these new leaves. Oh, there's one that's I'll bring it over here to you. Here's one that's got some little berries. Whoa, going down again. Whoa, there we go. Sometimes a little dangerous to be fighting that poison ivy.
Okay.
If at first you don't succeed, try again.
It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. Hey! It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight my battle.